All right. Are you on Twitch and YouTube or just Twitch?
I usually do Twitch and then I transition
Okay.
to
All right.
YouTube.
So I'll keep Twitch up for the chat.
Perfect. Yeah. Keep Twitch up in the chat. Okay. So, okay, we're good. We're live now. So, thank you, Brian, is it?
Yes.
Simpleman
Brian.
Comics, Mr. Wood. If you want to take a minute, go ahead and introduce yourself, and this is your chance to shout out any social media you want. Go ahead, take a minute.
Right. So I'm, of course, Brian Wood, Simple Man's Comics. I have a small little YouTube channel. I'm also on Instagram at Simple Man's Comics, on Twitter, and of course, I help out with some of the CBSI or comic book speculation investing or comicbookinvest.com stuff. So I'm all over the place social-wise. But I do want to take a moment to thank Tony for having me on his channel when he reached out and said, hey, kind of want to talk to you about you and your channel and your love for comics. I jumped at the chance to do so because I love talking comics with anyone.
Yeah.
And we were originally supposed to do it last Friday, but of course I ran into a snafu we had Arun Singh on from Boom Studios interview that went. He got sick and we had to slide that, so the whole schedule slid. So I want to thank Tony for being flexible with that and
no problem
having me on tonight. So I really appreciate it. And we're here to talk about comics and whatever questions that might come up, right?
Exactly. So an easy one, how long have you been collecting comics?
So I started collecting comics when I was probably 5th grade originally. And it was one of those things where parents kept pushing me to read more. You got to read more. So I found comics was the easiest, but it wasn't the normal comic books. When we were at the grocery store and I kept being asked to read, right there next to the cash register was Archie books, double digests, and all those types. So I picked those up and became a fan of Archie back then. And then right around Killing Joke time period, and I started getting more into the big two, and then you start seeing previews for, of course, the Michael Keaton Batman movie. So that kind of turned me over into more of the big two. And I collected comics from there, 88, 89, all the way up to about 92 when I got more into high school and started doing high school football, high school soccer, and didn't collect his books as much. And then, of course, out of high school, went to the Marine Corps. So I kind of had a big, what do you call it? Rest or break from comic books all up to about 2008, right? When the MCU movies started coming back. And then, of course, Iron Man. Once going to see Iron Man, I remember all those great Iron Man books reading back in the day, and that kind of rejuvenated me. And I started checking out comics. And, of course, it's a total noob at that point because now you have all these different variants and all these different what's good, what's not good. So you go through that whole trial and error getting back into the hobby. So I've been back into it since about 2008 now.
Wow. Yeah, 2008. Funny you say that. When I was in the service, I spent 10 years in the Army. So, I'm just a little bit better than you. Not by a lot, but a little bit better. I had my dad, he would send me my books in the mail. So when I did time, overseas in Iraq and Afghanistan, so I would get like these care packages from home with comic books in them. So they got destroyed because I was tossing them around, not everyone reading them. But I had a very similar experience.
So I did the same thing. I got out of the Marine Corps before Afghanistan, but I had friends and stuff. And even when I lived in Virginia Beach, I had roommates still from my old squadron that were over there. So I would do that where I would get a bunch of comics together and basically mail them out to them just because I've been on deployment before, even if it went in Afghanistan, but everything you can get comes in handy, whether it's comics or other types of magazines.
Right. Anything to kill 10 minutes is worth it.
Yeah. In between all the different collateral duties you get assigned. But
exactly.
So I definitely understand. And then my brother went over there twice. My other brother went over there. So they weren't even into comics, but I was sending them books and they were handing them out to people in their units that would read it. So it helped out.
It's worth it, in my opinion. Just kind of looking around in your background, looks like you got a pretty fancy little comic book, pop culture cave going on. And this question kind of goes with kind of what I see in the background. How do you store your books? I see some short boxes, see a giant file cabinet. What's your preferred method?
Right. So the big file cabinet, because before I had regular short boxes and regular long boxes, and then I switched to those drawer boxes that are basically the same thing, except you can connect four in a row and set them up. And I got to where first thing I come in, because my door's over here, and the first thing I come in, you just see all those white boxes, and I just got to where it was functional and it worked, but I just didn't like the look of it. So then I started researching other ways to store comics, and of course I came to that lateral file cabinet. And then of course I was worried about, is it going to be too heavy? Will it fall over? So I did a bunch of research, found different brands that people recommended from, as you had mentioned earlier, CGC forums, CBCS forums, a bunch of different forums, Pinterest even.
Well, I do Pinterest a lot
Yeah.
for ideas.
So, and then once I found the brand that kind of the brands that were recommended, I was on Craigslist for like 2 years. I'd always find one that, something was wrong with it, didn't lock, didn't have keys, didn't whatever. And then finally I just bit the bullet, and I don't recommend doing so. Be patient on it. But I bit the bullet and bought it brand new, and it was crazy expensive, but I knew what I was getting at the time. So that personal 10 long, I put 10 long boxes in there. Well, the whole 10 long box, and then I have went to Walmart and bought foam board and
Okay,
cut it to make it as dividers.
sure.
And then of course I have it alphabetical order, which how you file your cabinets or how you file your comics, everyone has different ways to do so. And I even sometimes go, why did I do it alphabetical order? But then I do it the other way, and then so I always go back to one way. There's no perfect way to me, but yes. So I have that, and then the short boxes up on top. Two of them are one for each of my sons. So
Okay,
I kind of, when they are 8 and 5 now, when my oldest was about 5, I bought those. And then my youngest was just born. I bought those, and then I started buying books here and there, mostly Batman and Spider-Man, and putting one in each one of the short boxes. So even if they don't like it or whatever, when they get to a certain age, I can give them a box. It'll probably grow into a long box because those are almost full. But that way I can kind of pass that on to them. I'm already kind of indoctrinating them by taking them to the comic book store and getting Funkos and super expensive mystery boxes at the front counter. That's like a piece of crap keychain, but
that's
they
how it
enjoy.
starts, man.
Yeah, they enjoy going, and they're finally starting to get into. They loved Into the Spider-Verse movie, but I took them to the new Spider-Man Far From Home yesterday, and they both loved that. So slowly getting them indoctrinated to comic books.
Hey, that's. I mean, I didn't have a relative get me into comic books. I was in a similar boat to you. I just happened to be at a grocery store. And I'm from the Midwest, from Iowa, so there's no like comic book store where I lived. So my local grocery store would have just random whatever, doesn't matter brand, characters, nothing. So one week it was X-Men, and the next week it was all like Justice League. So that's how I got into it. But now I wish there was a comic book store when I was growing up. That would have been really cool.
Yeah, I was heavy into cards before comics, baseball cards especially.
Okay.
Huge into baseball cards. I mean, um, 80, 86, 87 is about when I got into baseball cards. And then, of course, you were trying to collect, at that time, go back and get like the 84 series that had all the Strawberry, Mattingly, Puckets. I mean, a whole bunch of that. So I was heavy into that. And I still collected cards all the way up to about 95. And then, of course, those cards that I collected then aren't worth as much now. Now it's all about crazy refractor, on card autos. I started kind of picking up cards here and there within the past year. So again, like I took that break from comics, got back into cards, but now I'm like total noob again. Where you're like, okay, what's worth getting? What's to look for? In fact, I said, I'm gonna just record opening this box of it was like 2017 Panini Contender cards, and I didn't know what I was looking at or what I had, and I got to one card and I was like, oh, cool, Saquon Barkley rookie. And to me, it was actually the back of the card, but to me, it looked like the front of the card. I
Oh,
kept going through, and then the next day I looked and saw comments, and everyone's like, dude, turn that damn card over. It was like a $400 autograph
what?
Barkley card.
Oh
Yeah.
my god, dude, that's so lucky.
So I try to at least kind of look now before I do an opening of okay, what are the hot cards? I actually subscribed back to Beckett because that was the big catalog to
Beckett,
subscribe to
yeah.
back in the day. So, and it's all changed, but it's fun to get back into. And I actually got back into cards because I went and bought a box of Garbage Pail Kids.
Garbage Pail Kids, yes.
So I was like,
Yes.
oh man, that's like pure nostalgia right there. I mean, I don't even think Garbage Pail Kids, the newer ones are worth that much. Of course, just like all the other cards, it's what they call the hit cards, the autographs or printing plates and the special parallel type cards that are worth the money. But I just enjoyed opening them up for the nostalgia. It took me back to the freaking 80s, getting Garbage Pail Kids and trading them on the school playground. But and then that kind of fueled the fire to, hey, what about football cards again? Or what, So a lot of it just comes from this. I think my pure collectible of comics, everything is driven by childhood and nostalgia and having the disposable income now to kind of buy the stuff
Right.
and buy it by a box, not like I'm going to save up 2 weeks allowance and go buy a pack
And get like a pack of 10,
cards.
yeah. Or mow the neighbor's yard for all summer and get like, $30 or something.
Of course, nowadays you need a month allowance to buy one book at what, $4 or $5 a piece. But
So Danimal says hello and that he humbly requests you stop telling him what to do. And he says I should ask you about the hot cold show.
hot cold show. All right. So I'll go what the hot cold show is about. We comicbookinvest.com, we already know that about the CBSI Hot 10 list. And it's like the specific issues. I'm sure everyone's kind of aware of the Hot 10 that's already out in existence, right?
Right.
Jack and I, who helped do the social content for CBSI, were talking and figured we wanted to do something similar, but not specific to actual books. We kind of wanted to just touch on comics, which comes from the hot cold actually comes from Beckett.
Okay.
If you look at Beckett magazine, they have a hot cold picture listed in there. Our list is kind of pretty much looks the same thing. But we did that, but we didn't want it to be just Jack and I. We wanted to use comicbookinvest.com authors, writers of those articles, get what they say are hot and cold since they're the one that are writing all the articles for the site, and then compile that list into a video and an article for comicbookinvest.com. So we get their picks. It's usually 8 hot, 4 cold each week. We get they do little videos of what their picks, why they picked it, and then Jack and I discuss it, and that makes the hot and cold list, and then we put it back out on the comicbookinvest.com website as an article with the video, and then we also put the list, the picture of itself out on social media.
Interesting. Yeah, definitely check it out. I know I'm going to, but I think all of you should as well. Is there a comic book in your collection that has what has the most sentimental value to it? And is there a cool story behind it?
Yes. So I have it right here, actually.
Yeah, perfect.
If I can get the glare off of it.
Oh, yeah, I see it.
Killing Joke, 9.6, right? And it's a 9.6, but the story behind it is, like I said, I was a big Archie fan. And then around 88, which is kind of when that book came out, is when I started getting into the big two. And this was like the first wall book at the card and comic store that I went to, right? And I remember it had a little white sticker on it, handwritten in ink, $27 at the time. And I was like, man, I want that book. And it was everything, saving allowances. I offered to wash and vacuum my parents' car like every other day, even though they said it didn't need it again. Mowing lawns, lemonade stands, all types of things, trying to get money up for this book. And then, like, right shortly after, my grandfather had passed away. And this was right after we moved back to the States also. Because we lived in Heidelberg, Germany from 84 to February of 88. So we had just moved back to the States, just, reacquainted with my grandparents in Richmond, Virginia. And then he got sick. And when he passed, I have 2 brothers. I'm the middle brother. Each of us got $20 from it. So I had the money at that time to get that book off the wall. So I got that book, loved it. In fact, I didn't even read it because I didn't want to, because I loved it that much. And then, of course, it meant that much more to me now that I used that money to get it. So it sat I didn't even have a short box at the time. It was a freaking Xerox box that had my comics in it. It was at least bagged and boarded, but it sat in that box all the way up to about 2008 when I got back into books again. And I've got my comics. I was like, oh, here's my old collection, bagged and boarded. And I was like, it still looks pretty good. And that's when I started learning about CGC, graded books. So I signed up for it, didn't know anything about pressing, any of that. So I just sent it in with that coupon for like, what was it, 4 graded books or whatever you got with the coupon. And it came back a 9.6. So to be in a box that long, of course, it wasn't really touched.
Yeah.
But come back, get a 9.6. And then the story about getting the money from my grandfather with his passing. So that's like my favorite book in my collection just because of the sentimental value attached to it.
That's awesome, man. That's a cool story, for sure. Thank you so much for sharing that. It's interesting that we all have these, collections, and we go to the comic book store every week and we might, get the new copy of our favorite character, whatever. But it's so nice to have a book in our collection. It's like, if I sell everything in my collection, but I'm going to keep this book for, whatever reason. And I think it makes the hobby, a little bit more personal.
Right.
Like, I mean, all of my books I've purchased myself, so I don't have like a super awesome story, but hopefully someday that I will, or maybe I can give my children a really cool story about a particular book. Well, they'll just inherit the whole thing, but maybe they're like, oh yeah, I really liked this issue that my dad gave me, so now hopefully we'll pass the tradition. And I know you're doing the same thing with your kids. They're going to buy all these books, hopefully. But when your short boxes I see in the background, that you're giving them that emotional attachment. My dad, he lived to be 105 years old and his chute didn't open and that's how he died. But I got these cool books that he got for me, and same thing. I'll sell all my books, but I'm never getting rid of this short box of books. They're completely worthless, but they mean absolutely world to me. So that's awesome that you have that. Unfortunately, how you got the money.
Yeah, I know, right?
But it's still a nice a story and a cool book too, by the way.
Now I will show you my absolute favorite book in my collection from not sentimental value. And
just cool factor.
Yeah. And this is like my baby, which is the
Masters of the Universe.
The Wilkins Skeletor variant.
Yeah.
I hunted this book for a long time and couldn't find it. And then a buddy on Instagram DM'd me and said, hey, there's this other guy that's selling one 9.8 right now, and I know you've been looking. And I was like, oh man. And it's one of those things where the money's worth it, but whenever you're spending larger amounts of money, it's just like you get that pause.
Yeah, you're like, oh man.
So I basically spent 5 minutes rationalizing with myself, and then I figured, oh yeah, this is one of those months where there's like another paycheck. How the week, every other week, every 2 weeks, there's like 2 months in the year, like near November, December, and then June, July, where you get an extra pay period. And I was hitting one of those, and I was like, that's it.
Dude, the stars are aligning.
Yeah, and I actually got it for a good price. I mean, I paid $750 for it at the time, and people have been selling. There's a couple listings on eBay that are super high right now. I'm talking like people are asking like $5,000 for it. Jeez. I would never pay that much. Even if I had that money, I wouldn't pay that much.
Yeah, I don't think I would either. That's too cool. Cool story about I know you go to Baltimore Comic-Con. Were you there in 2016 by chance?
I was there. Actually, I was there in 2016.
Do you remember when Kevin Eastman was there in 2016?
Yes.
He was like the big draw for that year.
Right.
Did you get anything signed by him?
No, because here's another thing about me is I'm also one of those people that's impatient. So when I'm going through it, unless it's something like super like huge fan of, I don't have enough patience to wait in lines.
Okay.
And then I don't have enough patience to like go to CGC, get a witness, pal them around. So I'll be the guy that should definitely get something witnessed, but I'll just get something signed just because I don't have the patience to go get someone to come look at it.
Right.
And those are just my faults because I get lazy like that. But I do remember that And that was actually my first time going to Baltimore
That
Comic
was
Con.
also my first time in Baltimore. Was in 2016. I went with a coworker who lived like maybe a couple blocks away, within walking distance.
Yeah.
But I grew up watching the Ninja Turtles. I knew Kevin Eastman was going to be there, and I have for whatever reason, I never had any Ninja Turtles in my collection. So I just went to the local comic book store, and I was like, oh, I saw this, and I was like, I'll just get him to sign this. So this is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles authorized training manual.
Oh, nice.
So it's not like it's basically like, hey, this is some cool moves you could do on your
And you know
brother
it's
and
from
sister.
16 because, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but you know
Sure.
it's from 16 because the label's got the rivets on it. The old
Yeah, right.
CBCS
Yeah,
rivets.
you can see the rivets. And this was like the first witness signature of any book that I got. And it came back as a 5.5, but I think I can press it more. But anyway, like it was so cool that I got to meet Kevin Eastman.
And he remarked it, right?
Yeah, and he remarked it, which is even better. Because like I said, love the Ninja Turtles. I'm like, dude, there's no way I'm gonna ever get this opportunity again. I gotta get something. So, and he said, as long as they're in line, he'll sign one item per person for nothing. So I got it signed for nothing. I only had to pay this CBCS fee to get it witnessed, but and he took like a whole minute out of his time, and he talked to everybody, including me, and I thought that was so cool.
Yeah. Well, I'll back up a little bit because in
Sure.
2016, I'll say now I'm kind of lazy with some of that stuff, right? Unless it's something I really want. But I think in 2016, I hadn't gone to enough cons that had on-site grading or witnessing
Right.
that I kind of didn't even know how that process worked at the time. So I just kind of thought, well, I didn't go to Wheaton Leesman's line, but I kind of thought like my naivete thought each artist has a CGC and a CBCS witness just at their booth.
See, that would make sense. That would make sense.
I didn't realize, now I know, oh, if you want to get something signed, you need let them know, and fill out all the paperwork and all that stuff and get them to come over there with you. So through going to cons, you start picking that stuff up. And those are some good tips because, yeah, 2016, my first Baltimore Comic Con, new to that type stuff. I wouldn't even known how to get it done. I would have just gotten it signed and been like, I got Eastman's signature.
Right.
But,
well, what was nice about Eastman's booth, and I told him, was like, hey, I want to get this, witness. I was in the same boat. I was really new to what grading and authentication was. And he said, yeah, just, leave it right here with, this is my handler or whatever. So I just left it there, and I just went and was like, hey, my book's at Kevin Eastman's. You guys want to go get it? And they got it and graded it. But it wasn't on site. I had to, when it comes to grading books, I'm very impatient because it's like 6 weeks. Like, might as well be on the moon. I'm never going to get that back.
right.
But I'm moving on here. Here's one that always trips up every collector I talk to. How many total books do you have, or ballpark?
I'll probably, excuse me, I'm not coughing because the question took me up, but I get that freaking Maryland allergy. I've never had allergy problems as much as since I've been living in Maryland since 2008. But
I'm allergic to Maryland. I can't live in Maryland.
I hear you. I have roughly about 3,300 books in my collection.
That's a decent size.
Yeah, it's not, and I always get to what I said again. I'm kind of lazy. I don't like. I'm to the point now where I don't want to keep expanding storage because I'm always at that point where I go. I think down the road, like, hey, when I go to put this house on the market and I have to move, am I going to want to move all this crap? And then how? What's that going to entail? But so I try to keep it roughly around there. Every now and then I add short box, long box on, but I don't want to sit there and add a whole bunch of more comic book storage because, to be honest, I don't have much more room to put it. If I start outflowing my home office into more of this, like the basement den,
right?
The den, like my wife doesn't really come down here that much. It's kind of like the guest bedroom / den now, this used to be like my home office / guest bedroom. But then I was like, nope, I don't want an office to do comic stuff. So I moved everything out into like the big basement den. But if I start moving my collection out there, which by the way, like Funkos have made their way out there just being displayed. Yeah, it's going to create some conflict. And I don't feel like that's a battle that I don't choose to have with the wife. I pick my battles, and that's one that I'm fine with because, like I said, eventually I'm going to have to move the stuff if when we sell the house or put the house on the market. So I kind of use that to rationalize and keep my comic book collection kind of where it is right now.
Sure. Yeah, I'm in a very similar situation. My comic book room isn't huge,
Right.
I can touch both walls at the same time. But yeah, my wife also said something very similar. I could get into whatever I wanted. As soon as it starts to leave the room, it's over.
Yeah. So I noticed you use a filing cabinet too,
I
right?
do, I do, and I got lucky. These are big steel cases. It's actually two stacked on top of each other. Um, but the hospital that I was working at was getting rid of these because they were doing a big remodel. They're getting new ones, and they were just chucking them. And I was like, "Yeah, this is coming
Nice.
home with me." So, um, uh, total in these two drawers, yeah, very similar total to what you have, about 3,300 plus.
Yeah.
I've got short boxes stacked all the way to the ceiling, and stuff that just doesn't fit, or I want to categorize it differently and it doesn't fit
Yeah.
into here. But I'm actually looking at expanding on the other side of this file cabinet. I have about 10 feet, or actually no less, about 7 feet of blank wall space that I'm going to possibly get another set of these because I know another company that's going out of business. I'm going to steal those.
He's like, I got like 10 feet back here. I'm gonna knock out this here wall.
Yeah, wouldn't that be nice? Yeah, no, the wife, or as I like to call her, the CFO, will definitely
Yeah.
deny that request in a
Yeah.
heartbeat.
Yeah. You talk about work. My work has nice lateral or the longer cabinets like that, but they're all the ones that have the doors that they don't pull out. It's like a lift up type thing.
Oh yeah, those. Yeah, I don't want those.
I
Yeah,
was like,
no
oh, I
thanks.
can't mess with those. So, if I were to expand, I'd probably buy the the regular size file, not the long drawer, but the ones that have that you can put two rows of comics on each one, because you can find those cheap a lot of times. People getting rid of
Yeah,
them on Craigslist. Um, just because I like the filing cabinet type way of storing. Yeah, I have some short boxes, long boxes. Those BCW comic storage bins are great, especially if you want to stack them. But then if you want to get to them, you got to take them off and stuff like that. But
a real quick tip, especially for you, since I know you're Maryland. I'm familiar with. I'm a Pennsylvania state employee, but I know a lot of about the surrounding states to us. The Maryland Department of General Services, they actually have a surplus website where you
oh
can
yeah,
get these big file cabinets. We're talking for like literally a big one, like what you have, for like maybe $10, maybe $15. So definitely check out like Gov Planet or Gov Deals and search by your zip code. Yeah,
oh nice.
you can find. Sometimes they'll put them on a pallet of five, and you buy the whole pallet for like $10. It's ridiculous how cheap
Nice.
those are.
Yeah, I work on base here in Maryland. They have similar to like the base type stuff where
Yeah,
that dermo type thing
yeah,
where you can go and but I've never been over there because I'm always like, man, I might go over there and it's just gonna be like broken stuff and
yeah,
but
yeah. With a little bit of glue and duct tape, you'll fix
yeah,
it right
I
up.
mean you can definitely find deals and that's a good tip because I might check that out, but not right now because I'm not trying to expand my collection. But of
Yeah.
course that'll be like that stupid reason of like
Oh yeah, get
why
this
you should
cheap
do it.
thing. Of course, now
Yeah,
I gotta fill it.
yeah, that's gonna be the excuse why I do it. Of course, at some point, but
That's how I justify everything. So like my desk used to go along further, but the bigger the collection grows, I'm finding I'm lopping off sections of desk to fit for the file cabinet and long boxes.
yeah. But when you say stuff like that, a lot of times, like, well, I'm not gonna. I don't know your wife or anything like that, but when I say stuff like that, wife always looks at me like with the stink eye. Well, but this is so cheap, I can buy it, and it's $10 and got storage and looks like it like you. But then she'll turn around and say, "Well, I got 20% off these shoes, and all I had to do was spend $200 to get it." And I'm like, "What the? I don't."
Yep.
So,
Hey, our wives, they might be sisters. I don't know.
but
But
yeah,
I get the same boat. Or if I want to buy something, she's like, "Oh, which one of these books are you going to sell to pay
yeah,
for it?" I'm like,
yeah.
none.
But she'll do stuff like that. But to be honest, she's probably like super. I mean, she's actually really super thrifty when it comes to stuff like that, to
Yeah,
spending money. So, yeah, I always try to,
that's why she's the CFO at my house.
yeah, checks and balances. Like,
Yeah, right, right. Yeah, your one comic equals 20 shoes. That's how it
yeah.
works. That's how the math works out.
So,
What are some of the coolest keys in your collection?
um,
You have like a Superman #1 laying around.
I don't have no Superman #1. I have an Avenger. I have an Avengers #1,
Very
CGC
cool.
1.5. Um, Avengers number 4. I got actually. Let's kind of see if we can.
Oh, very cool. Awesome setup, man. That looks really cool.
So I'll pull some of these. Let's see what we got up here. I'll just pull some quick ones down here.
Sure.
So I got a Daredevil number 1 4.0. If I can get the glare off.
Awesome. That is a really cool book.
And of course, Avengers number 4 7.0.
Awesome.
This was like one of the first books I bought when I first key, which I thought was so expensive. I think I paid like $75 for it when I got back into collecting comics and submitted it getting graded. And it was the Tales of Suspense 57.
That's still a cool book.
And then of course you're like, oh man, I can't believe I'm spending this much money, and it just went from there. It just kept going up and up and up. And then this one I actually bought on eBay right before. I think it was right when Iron Man 2 came out, right? Because I figured Black Widow was going to be something big. So this is like the first Black Widow 4.0, and then it's also signed by Stan Lee.
Very cool.
This is also, I like books like this. This is the only Stan Lee signature series book I have, and this is what I bought one like this because I wanted a Silver Age signed by Stan Lee with some of the books and characters that he was more actively involved with,
right,
rather than like the newer books nowadays or Guardians of the Galaxy signed signature series Stan Lee, or there's some people that have Batman and
I know it's
comics.
so weird.
So yeah, and then I have a couple others I picked up here and there, and then of course nostalgia stuff. I have what is it, Detective 47, first appearance He-Man Skeletor, 9.6 in that. And then I have Thundercats, number 1. Green Lantern, first appearance, John Stewart. That's 8.5.
Awesome. That's a cool book. I'm trying to find a nice copy of that, or at least an upgrade copy.
So, some Bronze Age, like Hero for Hire, 7.0, Luke Cage.
Awesome.
Detective, or is it I forget the number, the Batgirl.
Oh, geez.
252.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, off the top of my head, I'm not sure. I think I have one, but I got to dig for it.
359.
359. Okay.
Samsonite.
Yeah.
Of course, if like not on video, you can sit there and rattle stuff off. It's crazy how you brain fart. But yeah,
that's a cool book, man. Very cool.
And I bought that one. I want to say like 2012. And it was just one of those keys that I was like, hey, I think this is something that's kind of undervalued at the time that might get more buzz. And it's gone up in value. I forget how much I paid for it even. I want to say it was like $185 on eBay at the time for 6.0 CGC. But
nice. Yeah, you definitely got lucky on that one. Yeah, I like your Batgirl book. That was definitely. For full disclosure, I'm all DC. Not that I hate Marvel, but that's just I grew up. I had more access to DC, and it just means a lot more to me than Marvel. But on that subject, what does your collection mostly consist of? Is it DC? Is it Marvel? Is it Dark Horse? Is it a hodgepodge of everything?
I'd say it's evenly majority DC Marvel, probably leaning more to the DC side. Favorite characters, of course, Batman, Green Lantern, and Thor.
Very cool.
That Batman, like I said, that whole the Killing Joke, and then of course the whole Death in the Family with the Joker. And that, of course, that time I thought the trade would be more valuable than the floppies. The whole Death in the Family. It's new in the comics, but it has all of it, so it's going to be worth more than just part of the story. But,
it's funny how a young mind works like that. Like, of course, it makes so much sense.
And it's like that really crappy grade, paper grade. Almost like, it's almost like an
newspaper
digest. Yeah. But I still have that somewhere and sitting in that. But yeah, I would say. But now, books I buy more now, I tend to buy more independent books.
And in fact, because of you and your YouTube stuff, I have started to branch out and look at more independent stuff. I mean, Dark Horse. I've always knew what Dark Horse was. I
Right.
love Alien and Predator and stuff like that. But yeah, some of the newer independent stuff, like
Yeah.
Oblivion Song, for example, is a great one that I encourage everyone to check out. And it's because of your channel. And you talk to these really cool people that so now I can put like a face with here's John Smith wrote this book. Well, hey, simpleman interviewed that guy. That was
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I mentioned I think in our last video with Arun from Boom is from doing some of these interviews, you start building a relationship with some of these creators and these people. So almost now you go to buy the book to support them.
Yeah, I talked to
because you
Jim. I
have that.
gotta buy Jim's book.
Yeah. So I mean, kudos to that. It's great to support them, and then some of the stories are really good. If we talk about them, or usually we'll buy the books, enjoy the stories, and then we try to reach out and say, "Hey, do you mind coming on and tell us more about the book?" Sometimes you get yes, sometimes you get no, but you get 100% no's if you don't ask anyone.
That's very true. That's very true.
So, so yeah, we've been fortunate to have some creators on, and like we had the PR person from Mad Cave because we love Knights of the Golden Sun, Honor and Curse, and a lot of their books. And then, of course, we were able to have the Wassel brothers from Vault. And
I did catch that interview live. That was a good one. I learned a lot from that interview for sure.
Yeah, those brothers are great. At the time, all the way up to the interview, the Nathan Gooden, the artist who does a lot of their homage covers, I had no idea was their cousin.
Yeah, I remember that.
They're like, "Oh, Nathan Gooden's our cousin." I'm like, "Well," so
it's a family affair.
Yeah. And then David Booher and Drew Zucker, the creators from Kanto, when we had them on, we wanted to get them on so they could, one, we wanted to know more about Kanto, and then two, we wanted to try to get the word out because it was a week before FOC, so we wanted to try to get, hey, come on, tell about your book, and get people to before FOC. I guess it didn't really, I won't say it didn't work, because there's a lot of people, we liked the book, we were trying to talk about the book, how much we liked it. We let the creators itself added more interest to me from talking to them.
Sure.
And then we read an advanced PDF copy, and it was great. And then it came out, and then all of a sudden it still seemed to catch people by surprise. And that's why I said it seemed to not work, because it went past FOC, and then all of a sudden people are like, "Hey, I can't find Kanto." But it's a good story, 6-issue miniseries. Right now it's hot from spec side. A lot of people would say,
I think I have issue 1, but I don't think I picked up anything past issue 1. But I agree, that's my fault. But it is a good read for sure.
But yeah, so I mean, I'll always support it and plug it from a story side. Sometimes I'll push a spec narrative, but I would say I'd be lying, I'd be a hypocrite if I said, "Hey, I don't speculate," but I always talk story first usually, and then I might add, "Oh, this might be, I think this could be worth something more down the road." But a lot of times I usually keep speculation to myself. I spec on what I like and not tell people, just because I don't ever want to be that guy we always say, buy what you like, and then people are like, "Well, that's an excuse." It's not an excuse, because I believe it. Buy what you like. I might say stuff, but if you don't like it, don't buy it. There's a lot of speculation out there. If you watch our show, Jack will talk about some speculation, and I'm like, "Nope, I passed on it. It could be the next Amazing Fantasy 15, but I didn't care."
Yeah, I'm the same way. I don't speculate at all. If I'm watching a video and they say this book is option for Netflix or some kind of movie, it's just like, well, that's cool. It doesn't fit in my collection. I won't buy it, but I have been branching out to more independents just to support new and upcoming talent as well.
Right. Now, I'm not saying, hey, I won't go sit there and go, "Hey, I personally think this book might be hot," and buy 15 copies of it pre-order, so because they save that 35% off. And then if it gets hot, yeah, I'll sell it on eBay or whatever. But I'm not going to go out there and tell people, because I don't feel like messing with other people's money, for one. And I don't want to sit there and say, "Hey, buy 20 copies of this," because then you're like that. What's that, Mad Cow? That dude selling stocks. I just say, "Hey, I think this book could be worth something on the secondary market possibly, but take it or leave it," because it gets down to that. Because trust me, there's books that I'm like, "Hey, I think this is going to be hot," and I got 20 copies of them sitting in a box like a year later, and then I just donate those to Children's Hospital,
Very cool.
kids Comic Cons or something like that. So it's always comes down. It's worth it whatever I buy into either way. So
Interesting. You do that. Um, we're going to transition over to some news. I want to get your 2 cents on a couple of things. DC cancels, stops Vertigo. Do you think that's a mistake on their part, or because they were citing some declining readership?
I don't say it's a mistake because I think any story that's worth being told will find life somewhere else. What DC might get rid of Vertigo, right? But they also have that new DC Black Label. Is it Black
Right.
Label?
Yep,
Right.
Black Label.
So I think it might go away, or it might not even be on Black Label. They might rebrand it and bring it back.
Very
Didn't
possible.
Vertigo go away for a while and come back again?
I think so. Or who knows? Maybe they'll just fold it into regular continuity
Yeah.
somehow. Yeah.
And then they also had the Young Animal imprint with Gerard Way's stuff.
Yep.
But if the story's good and is going to be told, I don't think it matters what imprint. The publisher will find a way to put it out there.
Yes.
That's just my 2 cents. If just because it doesn't say Vertigo anymore, you know, those Sandman stories and all those great Vertigo stories, that if they're going to live on, they're going to find a way to live on. Whether they'll just be on a different imprint. So as soon as I heard Vertigo was being canceled, it's like, yeah, some of those books might go on hiatus, but if they're worth it, they're going to come back somewhere.
Yeah, if there's an audience, trust me, someone will slap some pages together and definitely make sure it gets in the hands of some readers. This is kind of funny news. Simpsons creator Matt Groening launches a new comic book company, Bapper Books. So it sounds like Matt Groening is going to put his name on a couple of comic books.
But I'd be interested because he probably can't bring Simpsons over to it, right? I think
that's owned by Fox. I think you're
Fox. Right. And then Kaboom or Boom or somebody I think I forget who does the Simpson comics right now.
Right. But yeah, so that's kind of cool. We'll get some Matt Groening.
Yeah, and then he has that Netflix show that just came out within the past year, right?
Yeah, I forget what it's called.
Enchanted, Medieval or
yeah, maybe I don't know. I saw an episode. It looked good.
Right.
Yeah, Matt Groening classic art. Everything looks like a Simpson.
Yep. And you know it when you see it. It's kind of like that Scotty Young type stuff. When you see it, you know that's Matt Groening.
Exactly. Walking Dead ended. So on issue 193 for some reason.
Right.
Why they didn't stretch that out to 200, I'll never know. But
yeah, I think. I mean, I can't answer that question for him, right? But I can hypothesize and just be like, I think just like a lot of the deaths that came up in this series, that he kind of wanted it to be a surprise. I mean, they went and even fake solicited future issues coming out with Carl on the cover, and one taking a sword, one holding a gun or whatever. And then all of a sudden it was like, boom. I mean, we got a 2-day spoiler because news got out about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was probably about 15 issues behind on it. So it kind of caught me by surprise because then all of a sudden, you know, I had no intention of probably I was going to catch up at some point. But then, of course, when you hear news like that come out, all of a sudden you feel like you got to get your ass in gear and be like, oh, I got to catch up now. And I was just getting ready to do that. Of course, I just said, screw it. And I read 193 because I wanted to see how it ends. But it was good. And what was it, like a triple issue, right, for cover price?
Yeah, I think it was a triple issue.
Square bound book, 72 pages, I think. And I remember because I was reading it going, oh, but I was reading it digitally. So you don't really get the page feel, right? So I'm scrolling. So I'm like, man, how much more of that's there of this book? Like, because I keep it to where I can't really see the panel below it. So I don't get catch my eyes looking. I want to be surprised as if it's like a show. And then I'm going, all right, it's about to end. And then
keeps going.
Yeah. But I don't know. What are your thoughts on it? Were you a heavy Walking Dead reader? Or?
I was like you. I got so far, and then you know, something new and shiny popped up, and you know, I was like, I don't even care anymore. And then I was watching the show, and I thought it was great. And then I got bored of that, so I just stopped and fell off the Walking Dead wagon.
Yeah, but, everything you just said is pretty much defines how I would.
Exactly. Well, I feel like it's a a thing that most Walking Dead collectors do is like, oh, it was great, and then this happened, and then now
Yeah.
I'm X number of issues behind. Well, I'm
Yeah, and then I
just
go out and buy it whenever the new compendium comes out, right? I'll just buy the whole big compendiums, and that's like the one book because my wife was into the show. My wife actually read the compendiums 1 and 2, and then of course
interesting.
the show started getting kind of, yeah, but
Yeah, the show got stale for me after like season 2 or 3 or whatever. But yeah, it's I'm kind of. I mean, of course, everything's going to end, but I mean, like, why would they just announce like, "Yep, next issue, it's over"?
yeah,
Like, well, why? Like, okay, who knows? Maybe they're cooking something up. That's
yeah,
obviously not Walking Dead, but maybe something new and better is coming out, and they're just really excited for it.
yeah, and I don't fault him for it. I mean, he ended it on his terms, right? And everyone says, why not 200? Well, why not 193? I mean, 200
You're
is
right. Well,
around
why
a
not?
nice,
But
pretty round number that people can get to, but who knows why? I mean, he's got what that the Skybound imprint has that Amazon deal coming up right now. So who knows what's being developed for Amazon Prime? And shoot, I mean, the guy's probably eat, pooped, breathed Walking Dead for the past
30 years.
15 years or so, and especially even more so once it came on AMC. And he's not done with it, right? Because I'm sure he's involved in all these other spin-offs AMC has
Yeah,
coming.
yeah. Fear the
Um,
Walking Dead, I think, is still going on.
yeah, and they got like Walking Dead 2020 or something, and these
Really?
Rick
I didn't
Grimes
know that.
movies that are coming. Yeah,
Really,
it's
Rick
crazy.
Grimes movies? Oh
Yeah,
man,
so he had like left the show, flew off in the helicopter,
right?
and that was it. And then they're supposed to be making these Rick Grimes movies. That's the last time that I was following the show.
Huh. I did not know that. I learned something today. But if they can't get Andrew Lincoln for it, then I don't care.
Yeah,
He'll always be Rick Grimes to me.
yeah,
Um, Speaking of zombies, Marvel Zombies, I guess, is coming back to Marvel.
yeah.
Do you think this is just a uh, quick cash grab because of how popular zombies are now? But Marvel Zombies was a very successful book on Marvel's end. Do you see this as them trying to bring back some of the readers maybe they have lost, or just trying to get some more hype for zombies or just Marvel in particular?
Well, I think it's a couple things within there, right? One, first of all, if you saw like CNN said Marvel canceled Walking Dead, but
Yeah, I did see that.
but
Everything's Marvel in the news now. Marvel, Marvel, Marvel.
but I think it's also one Marvel seeing what's going on with Deceased, right? And there's some popularity with Deceased, whether the story's good or not, the covers, the store exclusives. I think so. When it comes down to bottom line, which is money to them, right? If
Right.
those copies are selling, Marvel's like, hey, we got zombies, let's bring them back. Now, whether that's how it happens or not, but um, it's kind of way I kind of see it because we got something here that's do the same thing again. I mean, DC copies Marvel, Marvel copies DC.
Yeah, they all rip each
It's
other
just the
off.
way of business and trends.
Yep.
But speaking of trends, that's how things also. It's weird how all of a sudden these trends come about where zombies come back again, and next thing you know, everyone's doing zombies, but it all comes out at the same time. And it's not like, well, hey, they just developed it overnight. People are like, producing it, writing it, directing it, creating it within in a pipeline for a certain time, but it seems to all come to the public at the same time. So it's weird to see how some of these trends play. So is zombies coming back? Are we going to see another trend of zombie type stuff? I don't know. And if they do that, right? Zombies, they bring vampire. It looks like we got Blade getting ready to come back.
Oh, Blade's gonna be awesome.
So, um, I yeah. If you were straight up answer, I think Marvel's copying DC off the popularity of Deceased.
Oh yeah, yeah. I don't know if you've been reading Deceased at all, but it's awesome. I mean, there's only a couple issues in, but it's still it caught my attention. They were saying like this is the zombie DC event of a
Right.
lifetime. But
And I love those Matina cover Bs,
oh yeah, he's killing it on those for sure.
and the Putri horror movie homages are great also. So
Yeah, for sure. Couple more here. Oh gosh, where'd it go? Oh man, I wasn't prepared for your good answers so fast.
Oh, sorry.
They're bringing back Legion in DC, so that's kind of cool. Are you going to possibly pick up an issue or two?
I think so. Anything, I'm always, especially, I mean, it might be old, but it's come out new again. A lot of times, if I try something out, I'll try something out through at least the first arc, because I think you can't pick up one issue of something and then, yeah, you're going to naturally base an opinion on it, but I like to at least get through a first arc before I decide whether I'm going to drop it or pick it up and trade or do or whatever I'm going to do. But yeah, I'm gonna pick up at least the first arc of those issues.
It should be fun. I don't know if you've been paying attention to Rob Liefeld at all. He came out and predicted the collapse of DC Comics. On a scale of 1 to 10, how wrong do you think he is? Or maybe you think he's right. Curious to get your opinion.
I'd say on a scale of 1 to 10, outside looking in, I'd say that's probably about an 8 or a 9 that he's wrong. Right?
Right.
But I mean, you can say the same thing. You could, for any argument he has, you probably say the same thing about Marvel.
True.
But you don't know what's going on. I mean, and then of course, what's the bigger picture is I think they're DC movies outside of Shazam. Shazam was freaking awesome.
Shazam was awesome. I love that movie.
And the other movies, like, I didn't hate any of them, but they weren't ever, they weren't getting that momentum to me as like the MCU was.
Right.
So I think and then of course you could kind of see it because they canned a lot of, Affleck's no longer Batman, Cavill's no longer Superman, so there's a reboot or a reorg coming in there, and I think they're gonna no doubt get it fixed. But I don't think DC Comics. How could it be in trouble? I mean, why? Because they shut down Vertigo. Now I think the streaming service is in trouble. I think that streaming service has a bunch, kind of isn't as good as I thought it was going to be.
I agree. And I got the big promo before launch. If you sign up, you get 15 months for free.
Yeah,
but
I signed up for the year.
Yeah, I did too. And Swamp Thing was one of those things that attracted me to it. Of course, Titans was awesome. And I think that's going to be its saving grace. Doom Patrol was pretty good. Swamp Thing, I think, had a ton of potential. Before it even episode 1 aired, we're done. See ya.
Yeah, and that's that whole North Carolina tax thing. But they need to find a way to bring it back because I think it hurts viewership because the show is fantastic. It's one of the better shows. I agree. Titans was great. Swamp Thing, you don't even have to be a huge Swamp Thing fan, and that show is freaking awesome. But now, are you going to start watching it knowing that there's not going to be
so if you know it's canceled, why even watch it?
But with that being said, which is evidently I say with that being said a lot, I would point it out to me, but it's worth, even though it's going to be canceled, it's definitely worth watching it if you have DC Universe. Or I didn't tell you to do it, but if there's a torrent or something like that, you can find it for.
Just watch it. We don't care how you watch it.
Yeah, fantastic show.
Definitely. And what's interesting about Swamp Thing and the show, Matt Ryan, who played Constantine on his show, said that he is 100% on board for a Matt Ryan Constantine, even if it's just a couple of minutes,
Yeah, we need like a Justice League Dark.
Yeah, don't get my hopes up, man. That'll never happen, but I pray to God that I'm wrong.
Weren't they supposed to? Was it Guillermo del Toro or something supposed to direct it?
Yeah, it was a Justice League Dark movie, and they were looking at Colin Farrell to play John Constantine. They said it was between Ian McGregor and Colin Farrell, but now that Ian McGregor is playing Black Mask in the Birds of Prey movie, maybe we're not getting a Justice League Dark movie at all anymore, and they just gave him the role to give him a role, or who knows? Maybe they did decide that maybe we're gonna really try hard for Colin Farrell, and as a consolation prize to Ian McGregor, they just gave him Black Mask. I don't know.
Well, who wants to come back as Constantine, right?
Keanu Reeves, the man himself. I say do it. I say do it.
No, that was one of those movies that was back when the movies didn't really match the comic books besides the title. But that was still a great movie, more because Keanu and Al Pacino freaking acting God. But that popularity, if they did it right and brought Keanu, I mean, Keanu's probably at that point where Marvel and DC are both like, pick what role you want to pick. You can play Wonder Woman if you want. I don't care. We'll sign you.
I think Marvel did snatch him up. I think they
Yeah.
did, or at
Yeah,
least
what are they
that's the
talking
word
about,
on the street. Yeah,
yeah, like a Warlock or there's a bunch of different.
something. Yeah,
Yeah,
I read. In fact, this week I think I read it. I surprised like he's leading more Marvel.
yeah.
Unfortunately, in my opinion, yeah, he should just be Constantine and
Moon Knight's another one he's been mentioned for.
Moon Knight.
Yeah,
Maybe I could maybe see that, but again, Keanu Reeves is white hot on fire right now,
yeah,
and I don't think there's anything that he wouldn't do that would turn into just immediate gold and would break all
yeah.
kinds of records.
He was badass as Duke Kaboom in Toy Story 4.
Yeah, I heard. I haven't seen it, but I'll have to check it out. And you know what? This is embarrassing, but I got to see John Wick movie.
Right.
I have not seen John Wick, but I have to.
You haven't seen any of them?
None of them.
Oh my god, I haven't seen
I've
three.
seen clips, but I haven't
Yeah.
seen any of them.
Definitely watch them. I've seen 1 and 2. Wanted to see 3. There was kids were at the grandparents. Let's go to a movie. Let's go see John Wick. We went and saw live action Aladdin, which was still good because I'm a huge Disney fan, but then I had my hopes up for John Wick.
Yeah, and you know what? The only clip I've one of the few clips I've seen from the first John Wick movie, you know, when his the kid steals his car, breaks into the shop.
Oh yeah,
Shop owner punches him in the face, and then the big mob boss calls me, "Hey, did you slap my son?" He's like,
yeah.
"Yeah, he broke into John Wick's house, killed his dog, and stole his car." And his dad's like, "Oh,
Yeah.
ugh." Like,
See, yeah,
okay.
you're at a disservice because of that. When I first watched John Wick, I had no idea. You had kind of idea what the movie was about, and I was like, just came to video. I'm gonna watch it, and I was like, holy crap, this movie's freaking awesome. And then of course they did it sick, but yeah, definitely watch them. You don't have to watch them in order to know what they're about, but it's well worth it. They got to be on like Prime or somewhere now where you can watch it.
And I've got all the Primes and Hulu and Amazon and Netflix and
Just don't watch it on like TBS or TNT. When they're all like,
I don't do commercials anymore. Yeah, right. I don't. Yeah, I don't. I try to stay away from that as much as I can. But I'm definitely looking forward to John Wick. Is there? I'm sure there's John Wick comic books out right now. But,
there is. I think Dynamite.
Dynamite. Well, that makes sense that Dynamite would have something like that. But
Yeah. So that was one of like when they first started coming out with those. They have the movie variants and they were cheap, right? And I was like, man, if you can get this, stash it away, and if you go somewhere where Keanu is, and if you can get a signature series of that, those books sell.
Right.
I mean, one, it'd be great just to have for your personal collection, but if you were like trying to resell it, those John Wick movie variants signed signature series,
$1 billion. Yeah. Looks like Cruiser 2 has just joined the live stream. So shout out to Cruiser 2. He says, "Greetings, simpleman Antonio." Oh, there you go. You just replied.
Yeah, I saw that one. I wasn't seeing any some earlier, and I was like, "Am I on the right thing?" But yes.
Yeah. There was some people coming in and out, but they didn't say anything. But Watchmen series from HBO. I'm excited for it. I don't know if you've seen any of the trailers at all, but it looks like it might be good.
I've watched one trailer. I usually watch me because I'm stingy like that, right? And I hate it, but I usually watch one trailer to kind of get the feel of it, and then I try to avoid stuff. If I'm all in, if I'm like, hey, I want to watch this show, once I've seen the teaser trailer or something like that, and I'm like, oh man, this looks like it's gonna be good. I try to avoid them from that point on because I like to fully take in the experience of when the show comes out,
Right.
and not get tipped off on anything that may or may not happen, or you get annoyed because there's stuff that's in the trailer that's not in the movie or the TV show in this case. But yeah, I'm excited for Watchmen. The movie, I love the movie.
The movie was amazing.
And the director's cut, every now and then I'll sit through that. But I forget how long is the director's cut again? It's like almost like 4 hours.
Yeah, something stupid like that. Yeah, it's way out there, and it's way too long. This is coming from someone who absolutely loves the Watchmen, but 4 hours, like, come on.
Yeah,
that's extreme. There are a few creators that are beating the drum to another DC Marvel epic crossover. But this time, instead of fighting each other, they want them to join forces against a greater evil, and they haven't obviously decided yes to a crossover or not. But if you remember the first DC Marvel crossover, it was kind of like it was literally DC versus Marvel, and I think Marvel ended up technically winning, but no one really lost.
Yeah.
But would you be on board for another DC Marvel crossover?
I would say yes, but then I think it would also depend on who's writing it. Of course, it won't be just one writer because it'll be one of those things where they put all the greatest writers in the comics and writing a bunch of different stories for it. But I think it'd be interesting just from a reader's perspective. I won't even say, like I said, speculation all aside. From a reader's perspective, depending on what the synopsis and the storyline is, I think it'd be great. And it'd be awesome if they like took on, well, it'd be hard to do it, but if they took on like an independent comics, and partnered with them and took on some, but then you get into PC-ness.
Yeah.
They're making the independent comic publisher look bad by teaming up and beating up on them in the book, and you don't want to say it's there, but it was definitely be there.
Someone's gonna get hurt, their feelings hurt for something like that.
But yeah, I'm all for the crossover, especially because then you could sit there, you just like you hear that headline and you automatically go, oh man, who would, if you were doing it, who would you put in it? Who would be the crossover? Who would be the characters? Who would be the storyline? Where would it take place? What universe? I mean, or the multiverse? What it's an awesome idea, and you can sit there and think about a bunch of different things.
Exactly. If you remember the old crossover, they had a team from DC do issues 1 and 3, and someone from Marvel did 2 and 4. But I mean, me personally, nowadays you got to throw Jeff Johns on something.
If it's DC, Jeff Johns.
Yeah. So in my
it's gonna be like a Jeff Johns, Donny Cates for Marvel.
Yeah, Johns Gates. Yeah, for sure. But I mean, Marvel. I mean, I don't know who's hot on Marvel art right now, but maybe you could have like Jeff John, Brian Michael Bendis, David Finch cover. I don't know, but who'd you have for Marvel?
Writing wise, I would definitely have Donny Cates, Jason Aaron. Of course, Jason Aaron's got his own. Oh my gosh, the indie book that just came out this week from Image, Stars.
You got me.
Yeah, I'm saying if we weren't on video right now, I'd be
you'd be like, yep, this.
Yeah, but art from Marvel. Mike Deodato Jr. I loved his interiors on the Infinity War books that they just had. I'm trying to think. Who else would I have? You put me on the spot.
Absolutely no pressure at all.
Now I'm like looking at what have I been reading from Marvel, and there's I like Marco Cicchetto interiors, especially for Punisher. Oh my God, sorry, not to digress, but Punisher's fantastic right now.
I've heard.
Oh yeah, you're a DC guy.
I know. So I mean, I only get my news from talking to Marvel guys like you.
But yeah, I mean, I can't think of anything else right now. I'm sure once we get off here, I'll just be like, oh yeah, blah 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 blah. But aside Ribic, I've been liking his interiors on Conan, Conan the Barbarian. It's hit or miss, some of it, but of course, a lot of people are hit or miss on him too. But I love Lee Bermejo art, and it also depends on what the story is. I don't think Lee Bermejo is good at writing like any type of story art, but there's a noir,
right,
crime, dark, underground, which tends to be a lot of DC type books, especially with Batman. But yeah, those would be who I'd pick from Marvel side.
Interesting. I hope they do that. That just would sound awesome. Now that they have all these, updated, characters, and now we have comics are huge. They've never been bigger than they are now. So I can only imagine what kind of stories they create. But I'll hit a couple more here that are funny, and then we'll wrap it up here. Marvel debuts a team of Axe body spray inspired superheroes. So not only do you have terrible um, clone, if you call it, but now you probably have extra terrible characters as well. Um, why do you think Marvel picked this up?
So I want to make sure I understand it. So they have Marvel has characters based on Axe body spray, or they're making
Yes,
body spray with Axe character names. Characters based on Axe.
they are. Marvel debuts a team of Axe body spray inspired
Yeah,
superheroes. I
that's
don't
pure.
think they're going to be like
Yeah,
Marvel continuity, but
that's
the
that's
fact
a
that
pure.
someone is demanding a comic book based off of
Yeah,
Axe body spray.
that's marketing dollars at work.
Yeah.
That's Marvel and Axe working together. Whoever approached who to create these characters to reach that younger demographic, that 18 to 24 probably demographic that Axe body spray markets to with their commercials, right? Getting the girls, hitting the beach, and then now they have Marvel characters. It's going to be some cross promotion there, so that's how Marvel's going to try to reach that younger demographic that they're probably not hitting on some of their titles that they want.
I just had to read it because the title was amazing.
Yeah,
But
it sounds absurd, but
it's gonna be an interesting. John Carpenter blames the California earthquake on Mad Magazine's cancellation. It sounds like John Carpenter has lost his mind.
yeah.
But he's coming to. I know you're local, but he's coming to Keystone Comic Con if
Oh
you're
yeah.
interested in horror films and John Carpenter in general. Um, Christopher McGuire says WB rejected his Superman film with Henry Cavill. That was today. So they rejected a Superman movie today.
So they rejected it today, but then they already announced that Henry Cavill. I forget. Was that left up in the air? Was it never actually really announced that Henry
I
Cavill
don't
wasn't?
think we're getting a Superman movie, but I don't think Henry Cavill is out as Superman.
Yeah.
That's how I interpreted it. Like, he still might show up in someone's movie. He still might make an appearance in a Justice League film, but I
Yeah.
don't think we're gonna get like a Man of Steel 2.
Yeah. Was he in Shazam?
For yeah, you know what? Yeah, technically he wasn't, but Superman was.
Yeah. Sorry, that might have been a spoiler alert, but
Quentin Tarantino says he would be open to directing a DC or Marvel film.
I think that'd be good, depending on which one he directs, right?
He's got to direct a Punisher movie.
Yes,
That would be awesome.
Punisher would be good, and that's coming. You heard it; it's coming from a DC folk right there. But
I would pay money to see that movie. I love Quentin Tarantino movies. The Punisher is a badass madman with a gun. That's a match made in movie pop culture heaven.
Yeah, or a Ghost, or if they redid a Ghost Rider, maybe.
You got to bring back Nicolas Cage. Sorry, you have to.
Yeah.
No,
I'm trying
don't
to
do
think
that.
of.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think those are all the headlines that I wanted to touch base with you on. Other than some Funko Pop Stranger Things 3. I'm sure you're going to check those out.
Yeah, I'm hit or miss on Funko, man. It's weird because I also go in stages because I think it also comes down to, hey, I don't have any place to put this crap. So if there's something I really like, well, if it's Masters of the Universe, I definitely pick it up. I'm a huge Masters of the Universe fan. Then if it's Funko, sometimes I get FOMO, right, where I'm like, oh, this thing's gonna be really sought after, and I buy it just because, and then I catch myself and go, why am I buying this? I need to stop. But yeah, and then some of those like San Diego Comic-Con exclusives that are coming out, you'll look for those. And if sometimes it's like I was saying, I do the same thing like my wife was about the shoes earlier, right? I got to spend this to get this much off. Well, I spent $50. I don't really like this thing, but it's selling for $200. By the way, I'm not even going to list it because I'm too lazy to do so. But yeah, I got this. Yeah, I do that type stuff. So
That's too funny. Sounds like something I would do. Real quick, here's another one. It sounds like Conan the Barbarian is going to get a venom-possessed sword in an Avengers book.
yeah, didn't that just come out in a secret Savage Avengers 3, I think?
Yeah,
Or
Savage Avengers 3. Oh, yeah, that's
Yeah,
today.
it came out
Yeah,
this past week.
yeah, for next week.
I haven't read it yet, but I've already seen people talking about earlier books that might lead up to, how speculation works.
Yeah.
People are pointing out some earlier books. I read Savage Avengers #1. I haven't read #2. Got both 2 and 3, but holy crap, so many books, and before you're starting to get caught up, the next week's books are out. So
Hey, I'm in the same boat. I still got, a couple weeks ago books just sitting here,
yeah,
bagged, boarded. They got to get cataloged and put away.
yeah, I
But
got that going on. Like I'll see if like over there.
look at that. That's cool. That's really cool.
So
Yeah, I have like a little tiny L-shaped desk. So that's kind of what I'm dealing
well,
with.
that's from cleaning up. I spent like 6 months worth of books sitting here out. And I spent like 4 hours in here last week, and it's like, okay, the floor's clean, but holy crap, I still have all this stuff to organize and put away and do whatever with. But
Yeah, yeah. So it sounds like every collector has the same problem.
it's like laundry, man. It's great buying it, but then you hate putting it away.
Yeah, right. Like I love buying books. It's the part bagging and boarding.
Yep.
It bores me sometimes, but especially when I know I'm behind, and it's like you got to do it, bro.
Yeah.
You got to do it. I think we'll go ahead and end it here. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, Mr. Simpleman. If you want to go ahead and give your social media one last quick shout out before we end it here.
Right. So before I even do any of that, thanks again to Tony. Really appreciate you having me on. Like I said, I jumped at the opportunity. I know Dan Piercy's been on before. Cruz has been on. So when you reached out, anytime we talk about comics, love doing so. I will be the first to tell you I'm not the smartest man in comics, and a lot of people probably recognize that, especially when it comes to artist names, because I bash them all the time. And people are nice enough to point it out to me in multiple ways. But yeah, social media, Simple Man's Comics on YouTube. Well, I'm also Simple Man's Comics on Instagram and Twitter. Search for me, find me out there, and comicbookinvest.com, help out there, and CBSI Facebook page as well. So shout out to Jack DeMeo, who, if you guys watch any of my social media on YouTube, he co-hosts the CBSI Bolo show that's live every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. So shout out to that. And again, make sure if you guys are watching Tony's channel, watching this video, make sure you click that thumbs up button. Make sure you subscribe because he's got a lot of great people on here. And we need to help this guy out because his content is fantastic and we need to make sure people are seeing it. So shout out to Tony and appreciate you having me on, buddy.
Hey, I appreciate the feedback, and maybe we'll have to get together again. We'll drag a Cruiser and Dan Piercy on as well, and we can all crack a cold one and talk some books.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, sir. I know you got some Stranger Things to watch, and that doesn't watch itself. So
yeah,
enjoy your Stranger Things season 3, and I'll be in touch, man. Thanks for coming.
Definitely.
On.
Yeah, hit me up whenever, man. I'm always happy to talk whatever. It doesn't even have to be on here. We can talk in DMs, we can talk in Hangouts, talk in email. If it's about comics, hit me up.
I'll tell you what, I will see you in Baltimore, sir.
Definitely.
Looking forward to it.
All right.
All right, thanks, man.
Subscribe to his channel, guys.
Perfect. Yeah, I'll throw a link to your channel, too, in the description for sure. Definitely got some good content, especially if you're... I know we're not supposed to use the word aspiring anymore. If you're a writer, you're a writer. But definitely check out his more recent videos if you are looking to break into the comic book world as a writer or an artist. There's definitely all kinds of good content and lots of tips to go around. But once again, thank you, sir, and we will catch you some other time.
Thank you.
All right, see ya.